let's move on to item 12, page 116 to 129, bylaws to consider removing a 6-meter minimum width regulations for dwellings in areas A to F. So, does anybody have any comments on this? It's not new. So Director Turnbull, and then Johnson, and then Morrow.
Yes, I have some comments about it. I have some comments about it coming forward, and I have referred back to the minutes of the Area F APC, in which they expressed quite considerable dismay about the idea of overturning the thoughts that had gone on during the OCP. They do not agree with staff that it was only the Hopkins Landing where there was a concern. So they are not wishing to be included in this initiative at all.
Director Johnson?
This is an issue of affordability for housing, and was very important to the Housing Committee, which is working on the development of affordable housing initiatives for the Sunshine Coast. And that the larger community, there's a widely acknowledged housing problem around affordability in the wider community. If certain areas of the regional district do not feel that that's a problem in their area and they don't want to be included, I think there are mechanisms to allow them to be unincluded. So I don't see that as a barrier, but I do think that there is a very serious problem here. And this is one very small, very inexpensive way to assist, for local government to assist in improving affordability. So
I have Director Morrow, and then I'm putting myself on the list. Director Lewis, I'll put you before me.
I do understand the need for affordable housing, and it's appropriate. I have some concerns regarding our area. We're going into an OCP review. I see this as going forward, and there's an information meeting being planned for here. During the OCP review, there is significant public engagement, and really I think that that's the appropriate place that would be discussed. So at this time, I would be opposed to having Bylaw 337 be included at this time. It should come as part of the OCP review. So I would be against that.
Director Lewis? Okay, so I'm on the list as well. There's a strong appetite in Roberts Creek to support this. I have 2 advisory committees, both of which endorsed it. It is in the Roberts Creek new OCP that we look at building innovation with a particular view to energy and affordability. So I'm in wholehearted agreement with Director Johnson that this is about affordability. There is a group of people in Roberts Creek working on tiny houses, which would be completely precluded by maintaining a 6-meter minimum width. So I would like to get from staff some comment on how we could move this forward in those areas that wish to move forward and not implement it in those areas that don't. I know we have variable things such as kennels. We don't allow kennels in every area. Some areas have them and some don't. So how can we move this along?
I think we could move it forward on that basis of an opt-in, opt-out kind of an approach. I also think that while staff recommended eliminating the 6-meter minimum, that there is an issue that needs to be addressed, because this has come from the building department, and it's not necessarily the entire 6 meters. It's whether you can have any part of a building that's less than 6 meters, because they've taken that as an interpretation. So we may want to look at some of the other options that were presented under that report.
So we need basically some clarification of how this is to be applied to additions to buildings.
Yes.
Okay, Director Noor and then Director Turnbull.
Our area APC is in favor of it, but I'm not against it either, but I would like to hear the public hearing and all the processes go through, so maybe there's some things that are missing that could be changed, or the fact is that maybe we can have input as to how this could be worthwhile for all of us. So I would presume that after that, I'd be prepared to vote for Area B to be involved, but I want to hear what everybody has to say.
So are you suggesting that it go forward as an area B and D only, or that it go forward as, I'm not sure how, like, obviously we have to have the public hearing to change the zoning bylaw, but how do you want that zoning bylaw to be structured? So,
Yeah, I don't mind Area B being on it, but a final decision will come after
yeah,
that.
of course.
So that's what I'm stating at this time, because it was almost unanimous at the APC, so I don't have any problem with it. I didn't like what they said, that we could have hedges so we don't have to see them, but other than that.
Director Turnbull?
Yeah, I think from the point of view of my APC in Area F, they felt more that the process was flawed, that it came out of the blue. They went through the OCP. The conversation never was had. The Hopkins one was about form and character. It wasn't about the width. So it wasn't raised at all, and that they're concerned about just having it come up. And if you look at their comments, what's the impetus for doing this? Who initiated it? Why? What's the rush? So I'm saying I don't think there's a rush in Area F, because they don't believe there is. And if other areas would like to implement, I would like to see. And I think it'd be a great pilot project to get going on, and the rest of us can monitor how it goes.
So, Steve, can you outline for us the challenges that the building department have been having with this issue?
They have, they come to us with different building plans where there's portions of buildings, either in a new building or an extension, that is less than 6 meters width. We don't have any guidelines in our zoning around how width is defined. So they have taken essentially an interpretation that where you have a minimum width of 6 meters, that the entire building has to be greater than 6 meters wide in any spot. And so what we did put in the reports were that there was, like, we could pick a number, 25%, 50, 75, 100, but we need some guidance, or none. We have a number of innovative housing manufacturers that are building newer designs and so forth, and some of those are meant to travel on the highway, so they're by definition narrower than the 6 meters, and so there's that issue as well in the zones where there's only specific zones. I think it's the R1 zone where this provision applies. It's not a broad provision under our zoning. It is specifically in R1 areas.
Okay, so this is what I'm hearing, that we would delete number 2 in the recommendations, that bylaw 337.105 2013 be deferred to be addressed during the OCP review in Area A. That would be number 3. Number 4, that bylaw 310.151 2013 apply to areas B and D only. All of these referrals, et cetera, and number 6, and that, or maybe it would be number 5 since we, no, number 6, and that guidelines be developed to assist the building department in interpreting the regulations where the 6-meter minimum width still applies. Does that work?
Well, we actually need to do that in the zoning bylaw.
So that would be a further step, because you could implement this in B and D, but for
Yes.
for E and F, you would have to come up with some language that would help the building department interpret the regulations.
And can we delete item number 2, please?
Yes, I said that
Okay.
at the outset. Does that work for everybody? Does that meet the need? Can somebody move that, please? Seconder? Any further discussion, Tracy?
Still keep the referrals.
Yeah, because you're referring, well, you don't need all the APCs until you have the changes that apply to areas E and F and A, unless you want it all to come back to everybody.
I think the APC likes to know that there was some effect
Sure.
to their comments, so I would like to send it back and say, yes, we
Yeah.
considered that and made some
And
amendments.
both Squamish and Sechelt territories apply in this case. Okay, all in favor? That is carried.